Hi everyone, my name is Hina Sami. I am qualified education agent counselor and working at Aussizz Group since past few years. I would like to welcome everyone on Conclave, Australian Migration and Education Conclave 2023. Today we are going to discuss about engineering, entry requirements, scholarships, and migration process. Before starting that, I would also like to introduce our services. What does Aussizz Group provide to you? So we are kind of a one-stop shop. There, you can. Our services are not only limited to education or migration. We have other options, other services as well, like PTE tutorials, IELTS tutorials, where you can start studying, have some preparation prior to your IELTS or PTE test. We also have CCL tutorials, that is kind of NATI preparation thing, where you can study with us and gain extra 5 points for your PR process. And the third one we have is Get My Policy, that is a kind of health insurance provider where you can actually click and compare with your with other health insurance providers as well. So you can get a quote with the different providers in one place. So it's kind of time saving application for you. So you don't need to go in different websites. You only need to log on getmypolicy.com and just start with the information, like if you are single, if you are a couple, what is the start date, what is the end date, and click on the code, and you will get exciting other options of I believe more than 10 or 15 options, and then you can buy any one from there. The fourth one we have is professional year program. We also provide services to people who want to take admission in professional programs like accounting or engineering or IT. And there have been a lot of scholarships also available. So please contact us for that too. And the last but not the least is 𝐸𝐴𝐾 Search. It's a kind of application that is designed for the people who are looking to get migration advice on their pocket. So what you have to do is you go to in this website, not website, sorry, application, down type your occupation there, and then you can find options in what other options you have for migration and PR perspective. You can also calculate your points. You can also see how many visa subclasses are allowed to apply for that occupation. So it's a kind of a pocket device for you, that you have everything in your pocket. You do not need to go and find for the options. So this is the mobile application that is called 𝐸𝐴𝐾 Search. You just go and download this with this application and just try it. You need to only add your age, your occupation, your marital status to see how many points you have currently, and then you can work out how many points you need to get your PR application ready. Okay. Now we are beginning to the session, that is engineering. So for the people who want to study something, they always have options. So I would bring the information to you, that why would you like to study engineering? What is engineering? Why people choose to study engineering? What is the role of engineering in our life? Engineering is a diverse field with many different specialization. It's very hard for people to pick one from each. So I'll in this session we will discuss about engineering and courses and its disciplines, also with the tuition fees, entry requirements, career potential and earnings, and of course, scholarship options. So with the definition of engineering, what is engineering? Is engineering is about taking science and designing and building solution for real world problems. It's a kind of wordplay here, but in simple English, I would say that engineering, everything is connected with the engineering. So from talking on the phone, paying the bills, receiving the payments, everything is connected with engineering, and there is a mastermind behind creation of that process. That process is technology is designed by someone who has created it, that is engineer. And of course, engineer have also been using science as a tool to design and bring something and invent something or create something for us. I was looking at engineering thing, and I got to know that engineering meaning is cleverness. So the people who are engineer, they are actually creative people with clever minding, and they use and play with the tools to create something and bring something with the technology and science. So Australia is one of the leading countries. Everybody knows the top institution offering engineering programs in Australia are on the screen. So these institutes are available in all over Australia. They are from all states. Charles Darwin University. Charles Darwin University have two campuses, one in Darwin, one in Sydney. They used to have in Melbourne as well, but at the moment they are not articulating that campus anymore. Then the second one is Swinburne University. Swinburne University is Melbourne, is in Melbourne. Then there is ECU, 𝐦𝐴𝐷𝐿 University. It's in Perth. And they have, I believe, 3 or 4 campuses in Perth itself, Western Australia. Macquarie University. So Macquarie University is in Sydney. University of Wollongong is in Sydney and the regional area called Wollongong. Sorry. La Trobe University is in Melbourne, and they have a campus in Sydney as well. Torrens University has, I believe, 7 campuses like Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, and Blue Mountains, and others, other affiliations. Central Queensland University have also different campuses in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, and so on. And of course, University of Newcastle, it is available in Sydney, Newcastle. Curtin University is in Western Australia, and Sydney. They used to have in Sydney. I believe it's not anymore. But then, of course, Curtin University is in Perth. So Perth has a bigger, larger state to accommodate students. University of Canberra. It is located in Canberra, and Engineering Institute of Technology that is available in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, and of course Melbourne Polytechnic. Melbourne Polytechnic is a TEF institute which offers bachelor's and advanced diplomas of engineering program. I'll start with the engineering, bachelor's of engineering, because there are some specializations. Some courses are called Bachelor of Engineering. Some courses are called with a different name. So I'll just lump sum. I have written here that this is what the course called most of the time. So Bachelor's of Engineering is this particular name is available in University of Tasmania and University of Wollongong. The fees of bachelor is approximately from 33,000 to 37,000 per year. And of course, Bachelor's of Engineering Science is also available. This is another name of this course. This is also accredited by Engineers Australia, and this course is available in Western Sydney, Australia. Of course, Masters of Engineering. Masters of Engineering is 2 years duration, whereas Bachelors of Engineering is starting with 4 years, and then sometimes it's go up to 5 years as well, depending on the owners and the specialization you are selecting. So Masters of Engineering is available in Macquarie University, Charles Darwin University, Swinburne University, University of Wollongong, Central Queensland University, 𝐦𝐴𝐷𝐿 University, La Trobe University, so on and so forth. So with engineering, everybody knows that there are specific major or specialization. One of them is civil construction or civil engineering, where it is involved with the physical activity, like deals with design, construction, maintenance of the physical and natural built of environment. So the people who are in this industry, they usually create road maps and construct the residential and commercial buildings, and they design, and then they hand over that task to the people, to the labor who can build it for them. So those are the masterminds creating those sketches and blueprints, and then presenting it to the team, and then they work on how to progress it, and then it goes to the labor team, the builder team, and then they create it, like the carpenters, the painters, the bricklayers. They used to work in a combined roof in one umbrella, and then perform the work. So this is how civil engineering work. So this course have three different options, that is Advanced Diploma of Civil Construction and Design, Bachelor's and Master's. These all three are in medium term occupation for migration purposes. So migration advice will be given in this seminar. So hopefully after me. So I'll just explain a bit about what you need to study to qualify for that occupations, right? So people who complete Advanced Diploma of Civil Construction and Design, they lead to become civil engineering draft person. The course is 2 years duration and approximately 13,000 to 14,000 per year. Then there is bachelor program. Of course, people who have completed advanced diploma, they'll get benefit of it. And when they take admission in bachelors of engineering, they'll get some extra credits on the basis of their previous studies. So the total duration of bachelor program is 4 years, but if you have studied this course already, there have been some exemptions available from 1 year to 2 years, depending on your subjects and profiles. So the course Bachelor of Science, Civil and Construction Engineering is 3 to 4 years duration. In some colleges it is 3 years. In most of the universities it is 4 years, because they are bringing more technologies and information about this course and engineering setup. The third thing here is Masters of Engineering program. Masters of Engineering is usually 2 years, but in some places like University of Newcastle, it is 2.5 years duration. In Swinburne University, they have 1.5 to 2 years. Latrobe University is 2 years duration. EIT is also 2 years duration. And I would say most of the people, like there are two type of people. One are price conscious and one are brand conscious. So for the people who are brand conscious, they can select universities. Almost all the universities have similar tuition fees and requirements. But those who are looking for the price conscious thing, they can select private institutes or university with a lower fees, and then they can work on it. Then the second one is mining engineering. It is very popular in western side of Australia most of the time, because this course has internal mineral and efficient processes of engineering with mineral and material. It's a heavy material involved, and they dig into the mountains or rocks and then find things from there. So it's kind of very complex one, but then people would like to study this because this has more demand in Australia, and especially in Western Australia and other regional states. They have this occupation open as well in the medium term occupation list, so you can apply later on. It's all about extracting minerals from the earth in safe, efficient, and possible way. This course is available in Curtin University. As I said, Curtin University in Western Australia, and Western Australia has huge demand of this course. Bachelors of Engineering Mining, Bachelors of Mining Engineering Owners for 4 years. So these both courses are available in Curtin University. Then University of Wollongong, Bachelors of Engineering, that is from 4 years from 4 years to 5 years, depending on your major subjects and honor degree. Then this also available in Victoria, that is in Federation University. Not many option in Victoria because this course is specifically available in other regional areas of Australia. So in University of Newcastle in New South Wales, that is in Sydney, University of Adelaide, and then again Federation University, which is in Ballarat, in Victoria. Construction management. Engineering also involves some kind of construction and management, of project management kind of things. So this is also very, very important for the people who are looking to secure a career in that field. Just be advised that construction management is overall planning and coordination, and control of construction process that involve project management or working on the projects or meet the client requirements or maintaining the risk and everything. So it is not directly relevant to engineering, but it's kind of engineering management into it. And after completing this course, you can apply for your skill assessment as well in engineering Australia with another occupation that would, I believe, our migration agent will share the detailed description about it. This course is available in Curtin University, that is Bachelor's of Applied Science, 4 years duration. Also, Bachelor's of Construction Management in University of South Australia, University of Adelaide, and Western Sydney University. The duration is probably from 3 years to 4 years, depending on the majors and honors subject. Bachelor's of Building Construction and Management is available in University of Canberra for 4 years duration, and then Bachelor's of Construction Management Building Owners, that is 4 year duration in University of Newcastle. After that, Masters of Construction Management is also available, 2 years duration in Swinburne University, Central Queensland University, Deakin University, and University of Melbourne. The most popular one is, I believe, this mechanical engineering. I've seen many people doing this course. They've been doing wonders at the moment. They have brought some drones, some mechanisms in their studies. So I believe I am personally very attracted towards this mechanical engineering. This is not only when I was in my childhood, I used to think that mechanical engineers are only designing the car and repairing that. It's not the thing. They are designing, they are operating, they are moving with all kind of mechanisms, with all kind of machines. So it's a quite interesting job, I would say. So mechanical engineer designs, develops, build, and tests. It deals with anything that moves from components of machines to human body. This course is available as Bachelor's of Engineering Honors with the specialization of Mechanical Engineering in Swinburne University, Curtin University, and Engineering Institute of Technology. The course duration is approximately 4 years. I also had to add here that they also have an advanced diploma. So people who want to take a pathway from advanced diploma or a diploma with bachelor's program, there will be some credits available to them. So the course have diploma and advanced diploma as well as bachelor's, but the pathway for PR will be different than what we discussed in civil engineering. After bachelor's, it is Bachelor's of Engineering, Masters of Engineering Mechanical. This is the name called in most of the universities. Engineering Institute of Technology, Southern Cross University. Southern Cross University have 3 campuses: Perth, Melbourne, and Sydney. Perth, Melbourne, and Gold Coast. University of Newcastle. Newcastle University is available in Newcastle in NSW. The potential earnings, where is it? Sorry. So potential earnings for an engineer, I think this is the basic one. When you complete your qualification and you ask for the work as a graduate in engineering field, you start with 75K and then lead to the higher amount, that is senior mechanical engineers like 123 or 140. Um, these were the most demanding engineering courses. It is not engineering is not limited to mechanical, civil, electrical, or mining. They have other options as well. But these are which I picked were four best engineering specializations where we get students for from India, from Pakistan, from other subcontinents. The entry requirements for these courses are on the screen. So you can see that advanced diploma, you have to have completed at least year 12 or equivalent. And the English academic, English IELTS or PT requirement is limited to 5.5 for overall and 5 each for advanced diploma. For bachelor's, it's slightly different, slightly high. So for bachelor, you need to have IELTS 6 overall with 5.5 in each component. This is in one component, I would say, because they are pretty strict about English entry requirements for the people who want to study in Australia and study in a discipline of engineering. Other requirements are applicant have completed at least 12 years or 12, that is intermediate or higher secondary school, and or they have completed a recognized university foundation course. If the student is not meeting certificate, if a student is not meeting year 12 requirement, then they have to provide that they have completed at least recognized foundation course, or they have 2 years or 3 years diploma or associate degree in that particular occupation. And if they have at least 1 year of degree with any recognized institution. So they have separate criterias for the students. If they have not completed year 12, they have other certain options to fulfill. If you qualify through that, you can still take the admission. Or else, if you do not qualify directly in bachelor's, you always have an option to apply with diploma or advanced diploma as a leading to bachelor's program. For the people for the people who are doing master's degree, they have to provide a bachelor degree or an equivalent qualification for admission, because some degrees in some countries are not recognized in Australia as bachelor's. So if you are not meeting the entry requirement, or your degree is not accredited, then or it is not recognized, then of course you cannot take admission directly in master's degree. You can bring specific case to us. We can look into it and then decide whether tell you then whether you are meeting the entry requirements or not. So all the degrees we have discussed is recognized and accredited with Engineers Australia. Engineers Australia, let me tell you, Engineers Australia is assessing authority for these courses. So when you complete your graduation from the universities, you need to have a skill assessment in the end to apply for PR or so. So there have been separated agencies, authorities who discuss or who process your application, that whether you have certain skills or qualifications. So this is what Engineers Australia is doing for engineers in Australia. So whatever you are studying in Australia, whatever we have discussed before, it is all recognized and accredited by Engineers Australia. So when you complete your qualification, you can apply for the skill assessment and you get the skill assessment. Okay, As I discussed in previous explanations, in previous slides, that there have been some regional shortages in engineering. So it's a good news for the people who are looking to take admission in regional universities. Let me tell you briefly what is regional, what is called remote area in Australia. So the diagram in front of us has showing the yellow parts in Australia. These are all regional Australia. The only main cities are dark green color, which is in the end. You can see these are the metropolitan cities. Otherwise, starting from yellow, then light green, then a little darker shade in green, then more darker shade in green. This is all regional in Australia. So, in short, in simple English, I would say, except for Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane, all other places are regional in Australia. And we have discussed some universities from regional Australia. The benefit of studying in regional Australia is you gain extra 5 points, and there have been some comparatively less competition for you to gain permanent residency in the end if you are looking to go there. So the best thing is you get extra 5 points. And of course, if you are studying in regional area, the regional area will definitely pick you to select and give you the regional sponsorship it is required. So, regional area in New South Wales, considering university is Charles Sturt University. They have regional campuses in Albury, Wodonga, Bathurst, Wagga Wagga, and Orange. So if you're looking to study in engineering program, you can select Charles Sturt University in NSW if you want, or University of New England, or University of Wollongong in NSW. So you can study in these universities. It is not limited information. There have been other universities as well. You can pick any from any regional universities. From Victoria, if you are looking for admission or study in Victoria, there have been universities like Federation University, Deakin University. They have Ballarat, Gippsland, Wimmera, and Geelong campuses. Western Australia. Western Australia is entirely regional. So even though if you study in Perth, the main city of Western Australia, you are still studying in a regional area. So it is good option for the people who are looking to go in the metropolitan areas and study in a big city. That is Perth, I would say. Western Australia universities, including Curtin University, Edith Cowan University, University of Notre Dame, University of Western Australia. Then we have Northern Territory. Northern Territory is also entire state as a regional. So, and they only have one university. They have different campuses. They have 4 campuses in Northern Territory. So the university name is itself Charles Darwin University. Then they have separate campuses. And by the way, I recently went there. They are actually building a new campus in City. So, and also Perth, Western Australia, Edith Cowan University is bringing a campus in City. So there have been 2 big campuses under construction and going to ready by the end of 2024 or 2025. I'm not pretty much sure about the dates. Next, come to Tasmania. Tasmania is also a beautiful state, and it has the University of Tasmania. They don't have other universities in engineering. They only have engineering option in University of Tasmania, and they have 3 locations, Burnie, Hobart, and Launceston. This is also entire state as regional. So if you study in University of Tasmania or Northern Territory, for example, Charles Darwin University or Western Australia, these all 3 states are whole regional. So if you want to study and gain extra points and at the same time go and live in that area where there are not very less population, you still find people, you still see many international faces. These are the 3 options where students mostly go. And of course, Adelaide, I should not forget Adelaide. Adelaide is also a best location for the people, especially from international countries, where they can come study and get PR through regional sponsorships. So we are actually very near to the end. After completing your qualifications from different universities or different providers in Australia, there have been some career outcomes for the people who are doing such courses, right? These on the screen, you can see that there are aerospace, biomedical, building and construction, civil and environmental engineering, computer systems, government agencies, health industry, industrial electronics, international development, manufacturing, mining and exploration. These all are the industries you can work on. So I've seen people who have studied their qualifications from universities in Australia, and after completing that qualification, you can apply as a graduate, engineer graduate, and you get job in Australia to learn how to do that. It also depends on your abilities, how you secure your job. Not everyone get it, but of course, if you have a passion, if you really understand what engineering is, and if you can explain in your CV and everything, you can definitely get a job. So these are the industries written just in the screen that you can work in specific job industries, and then find a better occupation or better job solution for yourself. Okay, scholarship is the most demanding information from international students. There have been some universities giving 20% scholarship straight to everyone. So I have not mentioned it here, but there are some universities specifically offering 25% scholarship, 30% scholarship, but it is on the merit base. So the universities, I have shared a logo here, that is 𝐸𝐧𝐿 University, Newcastle, Charles Darwin University, Curtin University, and CQ University. CQ University is giving 25% academic merit scholarship. So it's a very good option for the students who want to explore and study in Australia. They can get 25% scholarship of tuition fees, what they have actually offered to you. And Charles Darwin University is giving 30% scholarship. Charles Darwin University is available in, of course, Darwin and Sydney. I believe Sydney campus have a smaller amount of scholarship because they want to promote regional area. And regional area has like regional Darwin has 30% scholarship for all students, onshore and offshore. So if you are looking to move from Melbourne from Sydney to Darwin or Perth, you have extra scholarships available for the people who are not in Perth or Darwin, and they are ready to move in different states. 𝐸𝐷𝐿 same is with 𝐸𝐷𝐿 University as well. 𝐸𝐷𝐿 is also giving scholarship of 25%. And of course, the scholarship is also dependent on merit base. So for the people who have studied and secured a better results in the end, they can apply for it and see how many scholarship they can get. Sorry, excuse me. These are the sources where I have gathered the information for you and presented in this presentation. I think we are discussing the questions in the end. So if you have any questions, you can ask for the questions as well. And if you want to research about what we discussed, whether you want to learn more about this, these are the, I would say, useful links for you. You can log on to these links and gather more information about Engineers Australia, about jobs market, about Aussizz Group. And this is my below is my email ID. If you want to email me and ask for more questions, I'm happy to take that. So any questions, please note down, and we will discuss the question in the end of the session. After me, I believe migration agent will discuss further about the future pathway or future PR pathway for Engineers Australia. Thank you for listening, guys. Hi, I think Isha is asking for a question. Isha, would you mind typing on the chat window, please, for us? Because I don't think we are able to listen to you. If you can type it, we will be able to help you accordingly. Thank you, Isha.
So guys, just a small information. Our migration agent will join us soon. So in next 2 minutes, we'll start with the migration pathway. Thank you.
Hello everyone, myself Harjeet Singh Chahal, registered migration agent from Aussizz Group. As my presentation is on engineering occupation PR pathways, right? As most of the students, they are interested to apply PR after completing their study in Australia. And we bring some of the PR pathway on the basis of engineering field today. As Engineering Australia is the designated authority for assessing skills and competencies related to engineering occupations in Australia. Now, Engineer Australia assessed the occupation of professional engineer, such as if you have completed even your bachelor degree in overseas in Australia, and that could be your BTech in any engineering field, such as electrical, electronic, telecommunications, civil, and so on. And you can apply your skill assessment, and that can be assessed by Engineers Australia on the basis of your qualification completed in particular field. Now, engineering technologist is the occupation which can be selected if you are not applying under any professional engineer, as discussed earlier. And engineering associate, these are the occupations such as draft person, technicians, that can be assessed by Engineer Australia if you have completed your diploma, advanced diploma, or associate degree. And then engineering manager is the occupation that can be selected at the time of your skills assessment application. Now, pathway for migration skill assessment, when we apply under Engineers Australia, the skills assessment have two types. Number one is accredited qualification, and the second one is non-accredited qualification. What is the difference between these two? Accredited qualification is when you completed any qualification in Australia and they are accredited under Engineers Australia, then you can apply directly without having a CDR report, CDR pathway, which we will discuss later on. And then some of the qualification are accredited under Washington Accord, Sydney Accord, and Dublin Accord. What does it mean? If you have completed your qualification in overseas and that qualification is accredited under any of these three accords, and then you can apply again directly to Engineers Australia without having the CDR. Now, we need to be careful when we apply under Washington Accord. Your qualification must have completed in particular university in overseas in particular time period. In particular time period, which means if your qualification is accredited during a period of 2011 to 2016, and then you must have completed your study in that particular institution during that time period. Don't get confused if your qualification is accredited in that particular institution after that, and then you will not be eligible to apply under accredited. field. Now, non-accredited qualification is a CDR pathway where you need to present career episode on the basis of the projects that you have completed during your qualification or during your employment period. Now, when we talk about the projects, that could be major projects or minor projects completed during your qualification. And that can be completed during your employment, as I said. Now, we will explain the accredited pathway skills assessment checklist. You must have your Australian qualification accredited by Engineers Australia before you apply, and you must have your accredited qualification issued from a country under the Dublin Accord, Sydney Accord, or the Washington Accord, which you can check online or you can visit any of our Aussie Group office nearest to you. We can check that for you. Second point that we need to understand is the other documentation that needs to be presented at the time of skill assessment. We need a passport, your colored scan, qualification degree, academic transcript, mark sheets, and CV, which must have your detailed employment information in it. A passport size photograph. Be careful, the photograph must not be more than 6 months old. Sometimes when it's blurred, it can be requested by Engineers Australia as well. Or if they see, look into your passport that your photograph is too old, then they can request the updated photograph as well. Now, the English test requirement is if you don't meet the exempt criteria, which means if you have minimum 6 each or equivalent score in PT or academic, it's fine. Or you have completed qualification in Australia, and then you can be exempt. Or if you're holding the passport from a country which is mentioned, then you can also exempt from this requirement. Now, CDR competency demonstration report pathway. For the applicant who have their Australian degree not directly accredited by Engineers Australia can apply under CDR pathway as well. It's not like all the engineering qualification are accredited. All the engineering qualification completed in Australia are accredited by Engineers Australia. We need to be careful before we apply. We must check the qualification that is it accredited by Engineers Australia or not. Then other requirement is 3 career episodes that needs to be prepared as discussed on the basis of the 3 projects that you have submitted during your bachelor or master degree. And you can also use the project that you have completed during your employment period. CPD means continuous professional development. It's just a single A4 page where you can elaborate all your professional development over there, that you have completed your bachelor degree during this time frame or master during this time frame, and these are the projects that you have completed during this time frame, and this is the employment or internship, etc., that you have completed in past, or if you are doing currently any employment, that has to be mentioned in your CPD. Now, summary statement where you need to mention all of the 3 projects, all the 3 career episode that you have prepared on the basis of your projects. Now, when you apply CDR pathway to Engineers Australia, you must choose the occupation on the basis of your qualification. Now, I want to explain one thing here. If you have completed your BTech in engineering in ECE, which means electronic and communication. Then you can select two occupation, either electronic or telecommunication. You must select the occupation on the basis of your career episodes. Do not prepare career episode on the basis of electronic and then select telecommunication occupation. Please be careful. Now, when you choose the engineering occupation, there are 31 engineering occupation approximately that are listed by the Australian government. Now, when we choose the occupation on the basis of our career episode, then the case officer assess the application and they may request you to get your skills assessment outcome as an engineering technologist, because they may not completely satisfied from your work that you have submitted to Engineers Australia. Now, another thing that case officer can request you to provide additional career episode. Even though you have submitted 3 career episode on the basis of 3 projects that you have completed in the past, but still case officer can request you to submit another career episode if required. Now the fees to apply the skills assessment on the basis of CDR report is 825 plus GST. And if you want to apply fast track, the outcome could take up to 15 to 20 days. Then there will be an additional charges, which is 315 plus GST. Now the fees of Engineers Australia is increasing from 1st of July 2023 onwards. Now, when we're talking about 825 plus GST, GST is only applicable if your current location is in Australia. If anyone is applying from overseas, they don't have to pay GST. Now, CDR basic requirement that I will be discussing here is the word limit when we prepare each career episode on the basis of our projects. It should be between 1000 to 2500 words. Now, you don't have to be panic if it stays up to 1200 or 15, as long as you have properly mentioned your role in that particular career episode. Now, when you prepare the career episode in introduction, you must mention the subject code from where you are preparing that career episode, which means you could have completed that subject in your 7 or 8 semester, and please mention that semester as well when you prepare the career episode. Now, the time frame that you have taken to complete that project must be mentioned, and the position or role in that particular project must be mentioned as well. You could be a team leader of that project, or you could be you could have played a role as a team member in that particular project. Please mention in the organization chart that you will be preparing at the time of presenting your career episode. Now, the practical application of knowledge acquired for the subject required and the difficulties faced and solutions that you are come up with must be mentioned in that particular project. And you can mention in a summary that what have you learned or what was the desired outcome of that particular project in the summary. Now, if you have completed any qualification in Australia, which, for example, is not in the skill occupation list, for example, you could have completed BBA in overseas or MBA in Australia, and during your 485 visa duration you would like to apply PR, and then you can choose this associate degree or advanced diploma pathway to apply your permanent residency as well. And this that I am explaining now is for the applicant who does not have project reports and still needs skill assessment and can do 2-year associate degree courses in Australia directly accredited by Engineers Australia. During your 485 period, if you have 3-year TR period or 2-year TR period, these courses can be completed in time, and you do not need any CDR or any employment to get a skill assessment in these 2 courses. I would explain again, some of the students that might be in a dilemma, they might be thinking that Engineers Australia required employment to get a positive skill assessment. Employment is not required in any way when we apply for skill assessment on the basis of our qualification to Engineers Australia. Some of the occupations such as IT occupations, or you can say trade occupation, does require experience to apply, but Engineers Australia does not require any experience to give you the positive outcome. As discussed earlier, this accredited pathway does not require any experience. It only required the accredited qualification in Australia or in any country, and that must be under Dublin, Sydney or Washington Accord. And when we apply under CDR pathway, we do not require any experience as well. We can apply without experience with CDR pathway while presenting 3 career episode, CPD and summary statement to Engineers Australia on the basis of her qualification completed in overseas or in Australia, which is not accredited by Engineers Australia. Please contact any of your Aussizz Group closest office and we will explain you these 2 courses that can be completed in a given time frame during your 485 visa. Now, some of the applicants, they do have employment in overseas or in Australia in engineering field. Now, when they would like to get extra points on the basis of their experience, then some of the documents are required when you apply for skills assessment to Engineers Australia, which is employment reference letter that must be on the company's letterhead, and your pay rate has to be mentioned, and you must mention the hours that you have worked during your employment period. When we say hours, mean minimum 20 hours per week is required to claim the employment points in Australia or in overseas. Less than 20 hours experience cannot be considered to claim extra 5, 10 or 15 points on the basis of employment. You must mention the duties performed during your employment period, and you must mention the position on the employment letter. For example, when you provide the employment letter, you must mention that I was working as a, for example, electronic engineer with this company. I mean, it will be presented by your employer. They will say ABC was working as an electronic engineer, minimum 20 hours per week during a period of 2021 to 2023, and the following duties were performed but not limited to. Now then you need to mention the duties, and your employment letter must be signed by the supervisor, general manager or HR department, and they must have their contact details on the employment letter. Must have the email and any of the phone number. Now, when you would like to claim the employment in Australia, then you should present the superannuation, super fund documents and the bank statement as a pay evidence where your salary was transferred by your employer. Another document is PAYG income statement and then notice of assessment. Notice of assessment is the tax return that we lodge annually after the end of every financial year. Now the fees, when we apply for employment assessment after the skill assessment outcome on the basis of her qualification, then it's going to be 425 plus GST. Now, if you apply together with your qualification assessment, then the fees will be 375 plus GST. When we talk about together, means when we apply for your skill assessment on the basis of Australian qualification accredited pathway or CDR pathway, and you would like to add your employment into it, then it will cost you only $375 extra on top of your qualification assessment. Now, I would explain a little bit more that how do we apply the competency demonstration report. We need to first of all prepare the personal document as discussed, your passport, your qualification, your passport size photograph, your resume with full explanation of your employment and qualification, and PTE, which is 6 each in IELTS or equivalent score in PTE, TOEFL, etc. And then when we apply, we must nominate the occupation. As I said earlier, we must prepare the career episode on the basis of the particular occupation that we are applying for, and we must select the same occupation that we have chosen to prepare the career episode while applying. And then we must have the academic certificate, degree, transcript, etc. in a colored scan copies, and then evidence of employment as discussed, career episode, summary statement, everything has to be submitted in one time when we apply for skill assessment. When you apply for skills assessment to Engineer Australia, it must be decision ready application. You cannot upload any document once you submit the skills assessment application. Make sure that you submit everything in one go. And then case officer can only request if any of the document they believe that you need to be presented in an appropriate manner. Now, warning, which means when you applying for CDR report, especially, you must present your own work. You cannot use other people's work, other people's projects when you apply for a CDR skills assessment to Engineers Australia, because the plagiarism will result in serious consequences. Engineers Australia can impose a ban up to 36 months if they find out any plagiarism or if they find out any work which is not yours. And Engineers Australia mandatory report to Department of Home Affairs if they find out any copied work from other people's. Now, CDR pathway skills assessment checklist, I would explain again. Identification document, academic degree certificate, complete official academic transcript, CV. You can have a screenshot of it. I've already explained that in detail. Now, this summary statement that you will see at the bottom, I have mentioned it specially here because when Engineers Australia see your work and then they say that they would like to give you an outcome as an engineering technologist, even if you apply for electronic, civil, or mechanical engineer on the basis of your qualification, then you may need to submit a new summary statement to Engineers Australia as an engineering technologist before they provide you any outcome. Now, these are the popular engineering occupation: mechanical engineer, engineering manager, chemical engineer, materials engineer, civil engineer, etc. Now, these electrical engineering draft person, telecommunications network planner, civil engineering draft person are the qualification when we complete any diploma level qualification or associate degree qualification, then you will get your skill assessment outcome in these particular occupations, rather than the professional engineer, which is materials engineer, civil engineer, mechanical engineer, etc. Now, permanent residency visa options, I'll explain here. Just give you an overview of general skill migration visas. Now, when we go for point test, 189 is the independent based subclass, where we need minimum 65 points of our own. When we say of our own means any of the state or regional area or any of your relative will not be giving you any points, will not be able to give you any points in this particular stream, which is 189. And then 190 is state sponsorship, where we need minimum of 60 points of ourselves. And then state will be giving you 5 extra points when you apply to any particular state, such as Victoria, West Australia, New South Wales, etc. under 190 stream. Now, 491 is a regional state sponsorship and a relative sponsorship. When we say a regional state sponsorship means when you apply directly to state and you must have your own 50 points of age, English, etc., which I will be explaining later on. And then 50 points will be given by a state. Relative sponsorship means you must have a relative, closely related relative, which means your first cousin, auntie, uncle, brother, sister, etc. And they are living in designated regional area of Australia. Designated regional area you can find out on internet for immigration purpose, which means if they are living and they have a proof of living there, the proof means if they have a lease agreement or any of the electricity bill, any of the utility bill, their driving license, etc., to prove that they are living in designated regional area and they are your close relative, which means they can give a statute declaration or a family tree and the documentation which can prove that they are closely related to you, then they will be giving you extra 15 points for the purpose of 491 relative sponsorship subclass. Now, skill assessment is mandatory to apply any of the general skilled migration visas. Some of the students, they contact us, and then when they find out they have a relative living in designated regional area or they have the points that they itself calculated while looking into the general skilled migration scheme, and then they approach us that they are eligible to apply any of the subclasses as mentioned, but they sometimes not aware that the skill assessment is mandatory before we even think about general skill migration. Now, get your skill assessment on the basis of accredited Engineering Australia pathway or non-accredited Engineering Australia pathway as discussed. If you still have a confusion on the basis of the skills assessment that you are applying on the basis of your overseas or Australian qualification, please contact us. We will explain you in detail. Now, the minimum requirement for general skill migration visa, the English requirement is 6 each in IELTS or equivalent in PT, TOEFL, CA, OET, etc. 6 each is again the mandatory requirement to apply for general skill migration. Now 189 and 190, both of these subclasses, once you get a visa grant, you will be permanent residents of Australia. Even though you apply under 190 state nomination, still you will get the permanent resident visa grant, which is similarly same time duration as 189 and same conditions as 189. Now we get the questions that if we get 190 state nomination in particular state, and then we must live in that particular state. Now this is the obligation where once you get the 190 state nomination visa granted, which you need to meet, but there is no condition on your visa grant outcome. Now 491, where immigration mandatory impose the condition, which is you must live in designated regional area once this visa has been granted. 491. That could be under regional state sponsorship or relative state sponsorship. Now, relative state sponsorship is similarly as 189, which is directly invited by Department of Home Affairs. There is no state involvement in 491 relative sponsorship. But the outcome of the visa grant, the condition on the visa is same. You must live in designated regional area and meet the requirement of living and working in regional area for up to 3 years. When we say up to 3 years, now immigration, they waive the condition of 53,900 annually, which used to be there, and there could be any income that you may have during your 3-year time frame. But you still need the tax return of those particular years that you have lived in designated regional area. And you must present the address evidence that you have lived in designated regional area. As discussed earlier, the address evidence could be your driving license, your utility bills in continuous manner, which means that cannot be like you give only 3 months and then you don't have for another 6 months and then again 3 months continuously. Then you may say, like, while giving your documentation in bits and bits can get you the positive outcome of 191, which is a permanent visa pathway after you have completed 3 years on your 491 visa in designated regional area. Now in 189 and 190 stream, once you get your visa grant, you will be eligible to apply for a citizenship if you meet the criteria, which is you must have lived 4 years in total in Australia, and you must live minimum 1 year during that 4-year time frame on your permanent residence visa. 4 years in total, and 1 year in that 4 years, you must be holding your permanent residence visa, which is 189 and 190. Now in 491, you will be eligible to apply for permanent visa after 3 years, which is 191. Then after the grant of 191, you must live 1 year in Australia while holding your permanent residence. Then you will be eligible to apply for your citizenship. Now, some of the students that we met in past, they have completed their bachelor's in overseas, and they recently came in Australia on a student visa. And they sometimes not aware that they are eligible to apply for a skills assessment on the basis of their overseas qualification, which is BTech in engineering. And then they approach us, we explain them the skills assessment pathway on the basis of accredited qualification or non-accredited qualification. And once they apply, they're intelligent enough to score a very good score in IELTS, PT or equivalent, in TOEFL, etc. And they get the CCL cleared, and they have enough point to get the invitation in general skill migration 189, 190 or 491. Now, even though they can get the invitation in 491, still it is a very good option for them to continue living here on 491 visa in regional area for 3 years, and then apply 191, and then after 1 year they'll be eligible to apply for citizenship. For example, if anybody landed in Australia recently and they get their skill assessment sorted, point test, everything sorted, and then apply for 491, within 4 years they will be able to apply for citizenship, rather than completing their study 2 years in Australia and then suddenly find out that they could have applied PR on the basis of their overseas qualification, and then they have already wasted a couple of years. Now, some of the students approached us, they have completed their BTech in computer science, and then they suddenly find out that they can apply for a skills assessment to Engineers Australia as well, even though their qualification is BTech in computer science. And they can contact us and we can explain them the PR pathway on the basis of BTech computer science as well. Now, the points that we were discussing, I have explained a little bit in detail here for you guys. For age, if you are between 18 to 24 years old, then you will be able to claim 25 points, which means even though you are 24 years, 11 months and 30 days old, you will be having 25 points till you having 25 years to 32 years bracket. And then some people might be thinking once they are 32 years old, they will lose the 30 points, which is not true. As I said earlier, if you are 32 years, 11 months and 30 days old, still you will be claiming 30 points. And then 33 to 39, 25 points, 40 to 44, 15 points. You cannot apply for permanent PR pathway under 189, 190, 491 general skill migration scheme if you are 45 years old or above. Now, English points are explained as under. If you have only 6 each or equivalent score in English, then you can claim 0 points. 6 each in IELTS or equivalent score in PT, TOEFL, PT is 50 each, will have no points. Proficient English is once you have 7 each in 𝐷ELTS or equivalent score in PT, which means 65 each. Then you will be able to claim 10 points. Superior English is 8 each in 𝐷ELTS or 79 in PT or equivalent score in TOEFL, CA, etc. You can claim up to 20 points. Skilled employment in Australia is different to if you have a skilled employment in outside Australia, means any other country except Australia. Now, in Australia, you will be able to claim 5 points if you have an employment between 1 year to 3 years, minimum 20 hours per week in your particular occupation, and the employment points can be claimed as discussed earlier if you have the employment letter, pay slips, bank statement, group certificate, PAYG income statement, and tax return. Now, some of the students approach us, they say they have only employment letter and pay slips. They do not have any other documents. I would explain here, if you don't have the third party document along with you, then it's going to be very difficult for you to claim the skilled employment points. Now, 1 to 3 years employment in Australia will give you 5 points, and 3 to 5 years employment outside Australia will give you 5 points as well. But you need to present documentation of third party as well if you are applying for employment assessment while claiming your outside Australia employment. 3 to 5 years, 10 points, 5 to 8 years, 10 points if you have employment in outside of Australia, and 5 to 8 years employment in Australia can give you 15 points, and 8 to 10 years employment in overseas can give you 15 points as well. If you have 8 to 10 years skilled employment in Australia, that can give up to 20 points. Now, the qualification points, if you have completed your doctorate, then you will be able to claim 20 points. Bachelor and master will give you 15 points. Diploma, 10 points. Now, I will explain a little bit more about the qualification points here, that some of the students that have completed their bachelor degree in overseas, for example, bachelor degree in overseas, which is BTech in electronic or communication, and they get their skill assessment done, and then they can claim 15 points. But sometimes they have completed 2-year study in Australia. That could be in trade. 2-year study in Australia can give them up to 5 points, which means bachelor overseas 15 points plus 2-year study diploma or certificate 3 or 4 can give them 5 points. Total is 20 points. Students think they completed any diploma in Australia, they might get less points and they won't be able to claim the bachelor or master points of overseas, which is not true. They can claim, but the qualification has to be similar to Australian AQF level when they claim 15 points for bachelor's or master's. Now, 2-year study in Australia, 5 points, which means your study must be 92 weeks cry course registered, and you must have taken 16 months physically to complete that particular course. And then another point which you can claim toward your peer pathway is NATI, which is CCL, Residential Community Language. You can choose any of the language which you are fluent in and can claim 5 points. Regional study in Australia can give you 5 points. professional year completed in Australia will give you extra 5 points as well. When we talk about regional study in Australia, it means you must have lived and studied in designated regional area in Australia for minimum of 2 years. Minimum of 2 years you must live in regional area of Australia and studied in the institution located in regional area. To present the regional area evidence, you need to provide the bank statement, your transactions in regional Australia, and your utility bills or lease agreement, etc. And there is a letter which can be presented to Department of Home Affairs, a letter from institution which can have your address mentioned that this particular student during the qualification completed in regional Australia, his address was this. Now, partner and single have different points. If you are single, never married, or you are divorced, or you are separated, then you can claim 10 points. If you are engaged, still you can claim 10 points as well. Now, when you say I'm divorced, then you need to present the divorce certificate to Department of Home Affairs while the time of applying any of your general skill migration application. If you are separated, then you must present any of the document that could be that you have applied for a divorce, etc. if you are claiming the 10 points as a separation. Now, if you have a partner, you can claim 5 points for partner's competent English, which is your partner must have 6 each or equivalent score in English, in 𝐸𝐵𝐷 or PTE, etc. That can be completed within 3 years, 36 months. The partner with competent English plus skills assessment can give you 10 points. That means if you have completed any of the qualification and you got a skill assessment from the accredited or the assessing authority, you can be a tradie or you can be an accountant and your partner can be engineer. And your partner have a skill assessment in engineering field and have 6 each, they can give you 10 points towards your permanent residency pathway. Now, PR pathway for engineers in New South Wales is you will be eligible to apply for 190 state nomination if you currently residing in New South Wales or offshore for a minimum period of 6 months. And you must apply for an expression of interest and choose 190 for New South Wales only rather than selecting all the states. And then 491 criteria is there are 2 pathways to New South Wales nomination for this visa. Guys, the financial year is ending soon and the new financial year will be starting from 1st of July onwards. And there could be a changes in the state nomination requirement for particular states. New South Wales, Victoria, West Australia, they can come up with a different state requirements during the upcoming financial year. Now, currently, the 491 regional has 2 pathways for New South Wales nomination. Pathway 1 is apply directly to Regional Development Australia office, and 2 stream that you can apply under pathway 1, which is established work history with regional New South Wales based employer. That means you must have worked in your nominated or closely related occupation for a minimum of 12 months and you must have the documentation as an evidence that you worked minimum 38 hours per week during your whole employment period, which is 12 months. And then stream B is your skills are required in regional New South Wales. Pathway 2, be invited to apply via investment New South Wales directly, which means if your occupation is in pathway 2 skill list, and then you can apply directly for an EOI, and then you will be invited by New South Wales investment, and then you can lodge the nomination application. They look into your documentation, and then the final invitation will be given by the Department of Home Affairs as recommended by New South Wales investment. Now, the common reason why applications are declined by New South Wales includes when the applicant overclaim the skilled employment. When we talk about overclaimed means, if you claim, for example, 5 points towards your employment, and that must be as per the skills assessment authority they deemed by your skills assessor. It means if you are claiming 5 points, for example, as an accountant, and the minimum requirement to claim the points as an accountant is you must have completed a bachelor degree. Some of the students completed 1 year employment during your bachelor degree, and then they apply and claim 5 points if work 12 months during your qualification, and then New South Wales will be declining your nomination application because the qualification must be completed and then your experience has to be post qualification. Another common reason is applicant does not meet the residency requirement. When we talk about 190 state nomination, the minimum requirement to live in New South Wales is 6 months. As requested by state government, we provide the documents to them and we are unable to present the documentation that can prove our residency for 6 months in New South Wales can give us the negative outcome by New South Wales government. Could not provide evidence for all claim. That means if we claim 70 or 75 points in our EOI, then we must have all the documentation to present so that we have no issue from New South Wales while giving us an outcome or giving us an invitation. Now, West Australia general stream. I'll just give you an overview quickly. Schedule 1 in general stream, nominated occupation must be available in relevant list. The minimum requirement is 6 each, and at least in Schedule 1, at least 1 year Australian or 1 year overseas work experience required in your nominated occupation or closely related occupation when we apply under Schedule 1, and full-time employment contract in West Australia for minimum of 6 months in nominated or closely related occupation is required for 190 applicants only. If anyone is applying from overseas with 1 year experience under 491 stream, then the contract is not required. But if you apply under 190 stream, the contract of minimum 6 months in nominated or closely related occupation is required. Under Schedule 2, where most of the applicant onshore and offshore are getting invited, and they got invited in past, is Schedule 2. Applicant living in any state can apply under general stream schedule 2 if they meet the minimum requirement, which means 6 each, and they must have 50 plus 15 will be given by state, and they got an invite from Western Australia under 491 stream. But if you get invite under 190 stream, then again, minimum 6 months of employment contract is required from West Australia employer related to your nominated occupation. West Australia graduate stream is open to applicants who have studied at least 2 years full-time face-to-face from an accredited educational institution in West Australia. And they must have obtained a certificate 3 level or above qualification from an accredited West Australia educational institution. It's pretty straightforward that you can use study from different qualification to make up to 2 years studying in West Australia. The applicant must provide the evidence to show 2 years of living and studying in West Australia. Living in West Australia, again, utility bill, bank statement, lease agreement, etc. And studying is the qualification, degree, transcript, and a letter from an institution that during study his address was this in West Australia. 190-491 nomination requirement is pretty straightforward for graduate stream. Now, the guys, most of the state will be coming up with different state nomination requirements. Because the financial year is about to end and new financial years may bring us the new state nomination requirement in near future. Now, Victoria 190 and 491 stream, right now it's closed since May this year, and it can open soon, maybe first or second week of July. As in the beginning, state always comes up as per our experience with a lenient requirement, and slowly they add up some another requirements which you may need to meet the criteria. Now, right now, it's pretty straightforward. For 190, if you have minimum of 65 points and you have a skills assessment, and you will be eligible to apply while living anywhere in Victoria. Similarly, 491, again, you can be living anywhere in Victoria, but once you get the grant, you must move to designated regional area. Now, 482 temporary skills shortage visa. As discussed, if anyone have experience in engineering field, because today we are talking only about engineering, if you have any trade related queries or any other occupation such as IT, accounting related queries, please follow up the calendar. We may have some other agents that will be discussing the requirement of that particular occupation in near future. But today we are only talking about engineering occupations. Now, if you have minimum of 2 years full-time work experience, then you will be eligible to apply for 482 visa. When we talk about 2-year full-time experience, the experience must be in last 5 years. That could be overseas experience or Australian experience. And you can have 1 year in overseas and 1 year in Australia as well. Full-time experience means you must have minimum 38 hours per week experience. Completed during, before or after your qualification. When we apply for 482, the experience can be pre-qualification, during qualification, or post-qualification. But the documentation must be provided to Department of Home Affairs when we claim 2 years experience towards a 482 visa application. 482 visa is the employer sponsor visa. If you have an employer who is happy to sponsor you in your particular field in Australia, then they can sponsor you, but they must have advertised that position. LMT, labor marking test must be there, and then must offer you minimum of $53,900 annually right now, but from 1st of July, it will be $70,000 minimum if any of the employer is ready to sponsor you in your nominated occupation. Now, when we apply for 407 training visa, it requires full-time 1 year study or experience in last 2 years to be eligible. Now, 482 applicants can be applied under short-term skill list and medium long-term skill strategic list. When we say short-term skill occupation list, these are the occupation which is technician, the qualification that you may have completed in overseas and you got your skills assessment outcome as a electrical engineering technician or mechanical engineering technician, etc. And you have an employer who is ready to sponsor you in Australia, then you can get a visa up to 2 years and you can extend that visa for another 2 years as well. Now, the good thing is if you get your 482 visa grant, even under short-term skill occupation list, and you have worked for 2 years with a particular employer in Australia, then you will be eligible to apply for permanent residence under TRT stream, because the new rule is coming in December onwards that even while your occupation is in short-term skill occupation list, you will be eligible to apply permanent residence visa. Now, the occupation in medium long-term list and regional occupation list are eligible for medium long-term visa, which can be granted up to 4 years. Now, currently, if anyone work minimum of 3 years as a 482 visa holder with one or more employer, then they will be able to apply for PR. Now, under TRT stream, if you work with that particular employer, then you will be eligible to apply for PR after 3 years, which is currently. But soon, working 2 years with the same employer can make you eligible for PR. Now, 186 direct entry stream and TRT. Now, if anyone have experience for up to 3 years full time, then they can apply for 186 direct entry stream. Now, when we talk about 3-year full time here, be careful, the experience has to be post qualification. As mentioned earlier, for 482, the experience can be during qualification, pre-qualification, or post-qualification. But for direct entry, experience has to be post-qualification only. Now, for full-time, that means if you have an experience, minimum of 20 hours per week for 2 years, then for 2 years experience, 20 hours will be considered as a 1 year full-time experience. 2 years will be considered, 20 hours will be considered as a part-time, and 38 hours will be considered as a full-time. Now, 3 year, 38 hours full-time post-qualification experience will make you eligible for 186, and 6 years minimum 20 hours experience part-time can make you eligible for 186 direct entry. Working 3 years full-time, I've already explained, and age requirement must be under 45 years or old to be eligible for 186 visa, unless the transitional arrangements apply. Now, 482, when we apply, the skills assessment is not mandatory in many occupations. We can check your occupation and then we will let you know the skill assessment is required for 482 or no. Even if it is not required for 482, still it can be requested by the case officer. But for 186, you must have a skill assessment before you apply. You must have a skill assessment in your particular occupation before you apply for 186 direct entry stream, and for 482 skills assessment is not necessary. Now, skilled employer sponsored regional provisional 494 visa is if you have an employer in designated regional area and you have a 3 years full-time experience in last 5 years, then you will be able to apply for 494. Now, for 494, your employer must be in regional area. This is not the case for 482 and 186. 482 or 186, your employer can be anywhere in Australia. But for 494, your employer must be in regional area. The business of your employer must be in regional area. Now, the skill assessment is mandatory again for 494, and this visa can lead you to PR pathway, and you can apply as a subclass 191 skilled regional PR visa if you work for the same employer for 3 years full time while holding 494 visa. It's going to be a bit longer PR pathway. We can have a better option for you if you have experience in your nominated field. Please don't forget to contact us. We will look into your profile and give you a better pathways. Now, if you have any question, feel free to contact me. I'll be based in Aussizz Group, Thomastown, which is at 211 High Street, Thomastown. And you can also contact our nearest office to you, and any of our qualified migration agent can give you the information related to your qualification, experience, and so on. Please feel free to contact. We are happy to assist you. You can also send us an email if you have any queries. We'll reply to those queries.
Thank you so much, Harjeet and Hina, for an insightful session. Now, quickly moving on to the question and answer session. So we've got a couple of questions, Harjeet and Hina, for both of you. And our first question comes from Arusha. So that is for Harjeet you. And Arusha asks that she's completed her advanced diploma in civil construction design from non-accredited small provider. So how can she get her assessment done?
Now, Arusha, thanks for the question. You can apply under CDR pathway while having the 3 career episode as discussed. And you need to prepare the CDR reports. There is 2 pathways, which is accredited and another one is non-accredited. You can still apply to Engineer Australia on the basis of your projects that you have completed during your qualification.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Harjeet. So before moving on to the next question, we have a hand raise from Karan. So Karan, can you please type in your question and we'll take it in the next thing? Thank you. So our next question is from Dhruv, and this is regarding admissions because it was post Hina's session. So Dhruv simply asks about the English language requirement, and he says that whether PTE will also be eligible for admission or just IELTS can be considered.
Hi, Dhruv. Yes, PT is also considered for all admissions, even though in master's or bachelor's or a diploma program. So you can either have a diploma or sorry, IELTS or PTE, but just make sure that there is a standard requirements for masters that is 6.5. Bachelor's is again 6 each, but sometimes they accept 5.5 in one band and 5.5 for diploma. Hope this answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hina. And continuing, Dhruv asked another question on NATI. I think Harjeet, you'll be able to answer that.
Yep. What is the question?
So he wants to know more about NATI. So how many points on NATI and stuff he needs to gather for his points?
Now, NATI is the residential community language, which means any of the native language that you speak, Hindi, Punjabi, and so on, you can give a test, which nowadays depend upon the date availability, and you can clear that test and you can claim 5 points toward your PR pathway. You can jump onto nati.com.au and find the test availability over there and choose the language which you can speak.
Perfect.
Except English.
I hope it answers your question, Dhruv. So moving on to the next question, that is from Rajesh, and this is regarding points calculation. So it is for you, Harjeet. So Rajesh simply asks that he has experienced points of 15 outside Australia, and now when he has come to Australia, his question is, would he get 5 points after 1 year experience in Australia?
Yes, he can. He can claim maximum of 20 points towards his employment, which means 15 from overseas and 5 points for completing 1 year in Australia, total of 20 points.
Thank you so much, Harjeet. I think Rajesh, you'll be able to. You're happy with the answer. Next, moving on to the next question, which is from Tao, and it is on selection criteria. So it is for Harjeet, you again. So Tao asks that he is on 80 plus 5 since 2021 in Melbourne and has been working in the mechanical engineering field with a good salary, but he hasn't received any invite yet. So he is asking if there is any kind of selection criteria, since he has seen people with 70 point in mechanical engineering getting the invite and he is still waiting for it.
Yes, what's his name? Sorry.
Tao.
Tao?
Yes.
Yes, thanks for the question. Look, it's very unfortunate that you didn't get invite. If you are saying you are on a good salary, most probably we have received an invitation in mechanical engineering field if we have a package 80K or above. It's really unfortunate that you may have, made any mistake while applying. I'm not too sure. Please contact us. It's really unfortunate. You might have received an invite if you are saying your package is good and you have 80 plus 85 points in total for the purpose of subclass 190 state nomination criteria.
So Harjeet, Tao says that he has not made any mistakes in EOI or ROI filing. So can you please elaborate on any other circumstance which can be a possibility?
Look, as per the experience, as per the files that we are doing on daily basis, 80 plus 5 is a pretty good score for state nomination. 190, it depends when did he apply. If he's saying he is waiting for a while, that means he have seen some applicants that have received the invite at 70 plus 75. We need to check his EOI and ROI as well. And he can contact us, any of our nearest office. He is aware that many of the other applicants have already received the invite. That means something could be wrong. I'm not saying 100%. That could be an unfortunate, but he should seek the professional advice while showing his AOI, ROI, etc.
Thank you so much, Harjeet. Tao, I hope it answers your question. And for more detailed thing, we can email you your answer to this, or you can just directly reach to Harjeet for any detailed guidance in case if you need. Thank you. And now moving on.
If he would like to email me his EOI and ROI records.
Perfect. So you can even send your EOI or ROI over to Harjeet on his mail. We'll share his mail in the chat, and it would be easy for you to contact directly. And now moving on to the next question, that is from Karan. So Karan is asking the question regarding the proof which are required for claiming the 5 points in regional study.
Now the regional study, Karan, you must be living and studying in regional area. When we say living, you can't be living in metropolitan and studying in regional area only to claim 5 points. You must provide your continuous bank statement to Department of Home Affairs along with your utility bills, lease agreement. Look, driving license address can be updated anytime. It's not the only thing that can allow you to claim 5 points. Department can request more documentation, as I mentioned, which is bank statement continuously in regional area, lease agreement continuously, and the utility bills. Now, bank statement, sometimes you might have the transactions in metropolitan, which is not an issue, but most of the transaction has to be in regional area, and the continuous utility bill in regional area is the best documentation that you can provide to immigration. As I mentioned in presentation, a letter from a university is very helpful as well. I personally and our education consultants always mention to the students that as soon as you take admission in any regional area institute, you must update your address to institute. Most of the time, the common mistake that students make is they start studying in regional area and they don't update their address to the institution. Sometime at the time of admission, they are living in metropolitan, and the only address which institution is having is the metropolitan address. And at the end of the study, when they reach the institution and they ask for a letter, and institution says we only have your metropolitan address, which is a very common mistake by the student. And if you have updated your address to the regional institution at the time of admission, then you can also request a letter from institution. They can give you a letter which will be saying during the whole duration of his study or her study, she was staying at this particular address as per our records. I hope it helps.
Thank you so much, Harjeet, for your answer. And now moving on to the question from Raj. So the question is for both Harjeet as well as Hina. And Raj asks, will a student with undergraduate in mechanical engineering in India be eligible for postgraduate in MBIS in Australia? So he is wanting to have admission information as well as PR information both. So first we can have the admission criteria discussed by Hina.
Hi, sorry, I was mute. Hi, Raj. Thank you for the question. Yes, of course, you can, from any different background from your home country, you can apply admission in Masters of Business Information System. The only problem is when you are applying from outside Australia, you have to see other context of your visas as well. For example, if you are changing your field from mechanical engineering to IT or business information system, then you have to explain this to Department of Home Affairs why you are changing your field from different field to different field. As far as admission criteria, you are meeting the requirement, because if you have a bachelor degree from your home country, which is equivalent to Australian bachelor degree, you qualify to get admission in Masters of Business Information Systems. But for the visa purposes, I would say you have to have a professional advice on, because if you take admission, apply for the visa, then visa officer may have some issues with your course selection and all. So please reach to us. We can help you in further advices and all. And for PR pathway, I would request Harjeet to answer this question. Thank you.
Hello, what was his bachelor's in? If he can please explain a little bit more.
The bachelor was in mechanical engineering from India.
Mechanical engineering. Look, first of all, we need to check his qualification as per AQF level. If that qualification is similar to AQF level in Australia, which means bachelor degree, then we can also check the qualification if it is accredited under any Washington Accord, etc. If it is not accredited, he can go for non-accredited pathway, which is CDR pathway. He can apply for a skills assessment while having 3 career episode, CPD and summary statement. As I mentioned earlier, he can contact us anytime. We can check his qualification. First of all, AQF level, and then the accreditation, and then we can also explain the CDR pathway to him again, if he can contact us, any of the nearest office to him.
Thank you, Harjeet and Hina. I hope this answers your question, Raj. And Harjeet, on the last question that we had from Karan, so for the 5 study points in regional area, he has an additional question on this. If he has only a university letter, will that be good, or does he need to provide additional documents as well?
Look, only university letter itself is not the evidence that where he can claim 5 points. But yes, in Department of Home Affairs can request for the additional documentation as well. Look, if he lived in regional area, if we don't have a lease agreement, he can also present a statutory declaration from a person who was holding a lease agreement, or if from an owner as well. If he got directly that place from owner, he can get a statutory declaration, or from any of a person who was holding the lease agreement. At least he has to present other documentation except a letter. It's pretty common. If anybody lived in regional area, they can easily produce those documents. Same thing can be picked by Department of Home Affairs.
Perfect. So this answers the question, Karan. Thank you. And so guys, this is the end of the session. This is the end of the question and answer session as well. So don't miss out on our next sessions, which are starting at 3 p.m. And the links I am simply sharing in the description. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Harjeet and Hina, for an insightful session. We'll see you soon. Bye.